Right now, somewhere in your city, two people are waking up to the same alarm. They earn nearly the same salary. They grew up in the same kind of neighborhood. They have the same number of hours in the day. But 10 years from now, one of them will be worth 5 times more than the other. Not because of luck, not because of a promotion, because of one rule that almost nobody talks about, the 1% rule. You have probably heard the phrase that the rich get richer. You have probably nodded along and assumed it means the system is rigged. But what if the real explanation is something far simpler? What if the gap between financial freedom and permanent financial struggle comes down to a single daily decision, so small it barely registers as a decision at all? This is not a motivational speech. There are no shortcuts here. What you're about to hear is a mathematical reality that has been documented in economic research, proven in investment history, and quietly practiced by the wealthiest people alive. And the strangest part is that it does not require more money. It requires a different relationship with the money you already have. Think about the last time you got a raise. Maybe it was 2%, maybe 5%. You felt good for about 3 weeks. Then your lifestyle quietly expanded to consume every extra dollar. Your rent went up slightly. Your grocery choices shifted. Your streaming subscriptions multiplied. And at the end of the month, your savings balance looked almost identical to what it looked like before the raise. This is not a character flaw. It is a documented economic phenomenon that the behavioral economist Richard Thaler studied extensively in his research on mental accounting. People do not experience money as a single flowing resource. They experience it in mental buckets. And the raise bucket, the moment it fills, gets immediately reassigned to lifestyle. The savings bucket stays empty. So what does the 1% rule have to do with any of this? The 1% rule is deceptively simple. Every single day, you improve one financial behavior by 1%. Not 10%, not 50%. 1. And you do this consistently, without stopping, without skipping, without waiting for a better time. Now, before your brain dismisses this as too small to matter, stay with the math for just a moment. If you improve by 1% every day for a full year, you do not end the year 1% better. You end the year 37 times better. This is not motivational wordplay. This is the mathematics of compounding applied to behavior. The same mathematical law that Warren Buffett has called the most powerful force in the universe. Buffett, the most successful investor in recorded history, has spoken openly about how the foundation of his wealth was not genius stock picks. It was time and compounding. He made his first investment at 11 years old, and he has publicly said that nearly all of his net worth was accumulated after his 60th birthday. That is not a biography of talent. That is a biography of consistent compounding. But here is where the 1% rule splits the population in half. Most people apply compound thinking to their investments. Very few apply compound thinking to their daily financial behaviors. Your investment account can grow by 1%, but so can your financial discipline. So can your understanding of money. So can the gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap has a name. It is called your savings rate, and your savings rate is the most important number in your financial life. More important than your income. More important than your credit score. More important than where you invest. Research published by financial economist William Bernstein in his landmark work, The 4 Pillars of Investing, demonstrates that long-term wealth is determined far more by savings rate than by investment returns. A person who earns $40,000 a year and saves 30% of their income will consistently outperform a person who earns $80,000 and saves 5%. This seems counterintuitive. You are conditioned to believe that earning more is the path to wealth. But earning more without compounding your savings rate is like running on a treadmill. The speed goes up. Your position stays the same. So how does the 1% rule work in practical terms? Start here. Right now, calculate exactly how much of your income goes directly into savings or investments before you spend anything else. Not what you hope it is. Not what it was 6 months ago. The exact current number. For most people in developed economies, this number is somewhere between 0 and 5%. Some people are in the negative. Some people are saving actively. But very few people have applied a consistent compounding growth strategy to that number itself. The 1% rule says this. Next month, increase your savings rate by 1%. If you currently save 5% of your take-home pay, move it to 6%. Set it up as an automatic transfer on the day your paycheck arrives, not after you pay bills, not after you see what is left. Before. This is what financial planner David Bach called the automatic millionaire principle. The money that gets paid first is the money that gets saved. The money that sits in your account waiting to be saved eventually becomes the money that buys dinner out on a Wednesday. 1% feels like nothing. That is the entire point. If you take home $3,000 a month and you are currently saving 5%, you are putting away $150. Moving to 6% means you add $30 to your savings. $30. You will not feel $30 missing from your monthly budget. You will adjust. You will make a micro-adaptation so small it does not register as sacrifice. Then next month, you move to 7%, and the month after, 8%. Now let us follow this person over 3 years. They started at 5% savings. They increased by 1% per month, every single month. By month 12, they are saving 17%. By month 18, they are saving 23%. By month 24, they are at 29%. And here is the critical observation. Their lifestyle quality has not dramatically declined because each individual step was too small to trigger the psychological pain of sacrifice. They did not feel the cuts. They did not white-knuckle through deprivation. They compounded their behavior in increments below the threshold of discomfort. This is exactly how behavioral change researchers describe habit formation. In his landmark 2012 paper on habit formation, published in the European Journal of Social Psychology, researcher Philippa Lally at University College London found that habits form not through dramatic willpower events, but through repetition of small actions below the resistance threshold. The moment a financial behavior requires significant conscious effort, the brain begins to seek an exit. But when the behavior is small enough to slide under the radar of the brain's loss aversion instinct, it embeds itself into the automatic decision architecture. It becomes default. And default is the most powerful financial force you have never thought about. Default is why the vast majority of people who have access to employer retirement matching never fully claim it. The default behavior was not to enroll. And the human brain, deeply resistant to effortful decisions, stayed with the default. Studies by economists Shlomo Benartzi and Richard Thaler on automatic enrollment in 401k plans found that when companies switched from opt-in to opt-out retirement enrollment, participation rates jumped from under 50% to over 90%. The money was the same. The benefit was the same. The only thing that changed was the default. And that changed everything. So when you apply the 1% rule, you are not just compounding a number. You are compounding your default. You are making saving the path of least resistance. You are engineering your financial architecture so that wealth accumulation happens automatically, quietly, without requiring heroic daily effort. Now let us talk about what happens to the money once your savings rate starts to grow. This is where the second dimension of the 1% rule activates. Because it does not just apply to your savings rate, it applies to your financial knowledge, your investing behavior, your understanding of where wealth actually lives. Most people keep their savings in a bank account. And a bank account, in the context of real inflation-adjusted returns, does not grow. The Consumer Price Index has averaged roughly 3% annual inflation over the past several decades. A savings account offering 1% annual interest is not a savings tool. It is a slow loss vehicle. Your money is physically present, but economically shrinking. Every year you leave $10,000 in a savings account earning 1%. You lose approximately $200 of purchasing power. You do not see it disappear, but it disappears. The 1% rule applied to your investing knowledge means spending 1% of your day, which is roughly 15 minutes, learning about how your money can work instead of waiting. 15 minutes reading about index fund investing. 15 minutes understanding the difference between an asset and a liability. 15 minutes studying the basic mechanics of how compound interest behaves over a 30-year period. And here is where the mathematics becomes almost incomprehensible. If you invest $500 per month starting at age 25 in a broad market index fund that tracks the historical average return of the S&P 500, which has averaged approximately 10% annually over the last century, you will have approximately $2.7 million by age 65. If you wait until age 35 to start the same investment at the same amount, you will have roughly $1.1 million. The 10-year delay costs you $1.6 million. You did not spend that $1.6 million. You just waited. The cost of waiting is not linear. It is exponential, and most people are waiting. They are waiting for a better month, waiting for the credit card to be paid off first, waiting until they earn more, waiting for clarity. But financial clarity does not arrive like a letter in the mail. It arrives through action, through the accumulation of small compounding decisions that slowly rearrange the architecture of your financial life. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard and the inventor of the retail index fund, changed the financial landscape of an entire generation when he made a simple argument. Most people do not need to beat the market. They need to stop losing to it. The average actively managed mutual fund underperforms the market index over any 20-year period once fees are accounted for. Bogle's solution was to buy the whole market, accept average returns, never pay high fees, and stay invested forever. This philosophy, called passive index investing, has produced more ordinary millionaires than any other investing strategy in modern financial history. It requires almost no skill. It requires almost no active management. It requires only one thing: consistency, showing up every month, investing the same amount, not panicking when the market drops, not celebrating when it spikes, just compounding. Just applying the 1% rule and letting time do the work that feels impossible to do manually. But let us go back to the two people who woke up to the same alarm. The one who ends up 5 times wealthier 10 years later did not get there through a dramatic financial awakening. There was no single decision that created the gap. There were thousands of micro decisions, each one individually invisible, each one collectively transformative. They automated their savings increase. They spent 15 minutes a week reading about investing. They resisted the impulse to upgrade their car every 3 years. They reviewed their subscriptions every 6 months and canceled the ones that no longer added value. They increased their emergency fund by 1% at a time until it covered 6 months of expenses. They learned the difference between needs and wants, not as an abstract moral lesson, but as a mathematical distinction between assets that build net worth and liabilities that drain it. None of these decisions required genius. None of them required extraordinary income. They required only the 1% rule applied consistently across every dimension of their financial life. Now let us examine the trap that keeps the other person stuck. The trap is not laziness. It is not ignorance. It is optimization for the present at the expense of the future. The human brain is hardwired to discount future rewards. A $10,000 gain 10 years from now feels psychologically equivalent to about $3,000 or $4,000 today. This is called hyperbolic discounting, and it was documented extensively by the psychologist Daniel Kahneman in his foundational work on cognitive bias and decision-making. The brain is not rational about time. It is strongly biased toward now. This is why lottery tickets outsell index fund contributions in lower-income households. The lottery offers an immediate, vivid dream. An index fund offers a slow, invisible growth that takes decades to become dramatic. The brain craves the vivid dream. The math rewards the invisible growth. The 1% rule works precisely because it does not ask your present biased brain to sacrifice anything significant today. It asks for almost nothing. It asks for $30, for 15 minutes, for one small automation. And in exchange, it delivers compounding results that your brain will begin to notice within 18 months, feel within 3 years, and be astonished by within 10. So how do you begin? Not tomorrow, not when you get a raise, not when your debt is cleared. Today. Step 1. Know your exact savings rate right now. The exact number. Not a guess. Pull up your bank account. Calculate what percentage of your take-home pay you moved into savings or investments last month. Write it down. Step 2. Increase it by 1% this month. Set up an automatic transfer. Schedule it for the day your paycheck deposits. If your bank will not allow automatic transfers to a separate account, open a high-yield savings account at a different institution and set the transfer from there. Create friction between yourself and the money you are saving. Make it annoying to access. Make savings the default and spending from savings the exception. Step 3. Schedule 15 minutes every week for financial education. Not YouTube rabbit holes. Not financial news that will make you anxious. Focused reading on one specific topic. Index funds, compound interest, tax-advantaged accounts, the mechanics of inflation. 15 minutes. One topic. Compounding your knowledge at the same rate you are compounding your savings. Step 4. Every 3 months, review the entire system. Increase your savings rate by another 1%. Update your financial knowledge based on what you have learned. Adjust any automatic investments to reflect growth in your income. And most importantly, do not touch the accounts. Do not pause the transfers during a difficult month. The consistency of the behavior is the entire source of its power. The moment you pause, you interrupt the compound chain. The most expensive thing you can do financially is start and stop. And this is where the 1% rule reveals its final and perhaps most important dimension. It applies to your financial resilience as much as it applies to your wealth. Resilience is your ability to absorb a financial shock without derailing your long-term plan. It is your emergency fund. It is your debt-to-income ratio. It is the size of the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Every 1% increase in your savings rate is simultaneously a 1% increase in your financial resilience. Every month that passes without a financial emergency consuming your progress is a month where the compound chain grows stronger. The wealthy are not primarily wealthy because they earn more. They are primarily wealthy because they have engineered a wide gap between income and expenditure, and then pointed that gap at assets that compound. The 1% rule is the mechanism for engineering that gap, one invisible increment at a time, in a way your brain can accept, your habits can sustain, and your future self will not recognize. Because here is what your future self looks like if you apply this rule starting today and do not stop. In year 3, your savings rate has compounded to somewhere between 20 and 30%. Your investment account has a balance that actually makes you feel something when you look at it. You have paid down a measurable percentage of your highest interest debt. You have built an emergency fund that means a car repair or a medical bill is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. In year 7, your investment account is producing passive returns that are themselves compounding. You are beginning to understand what Buffett and Bogle understood, that money, once properly positioned, generates more money without your active involvement. This is not passive income in the influencer marketing sense of the word. This is the mathematical behavior of compounding capital, money earning money, every day, including days when you are not working, not thinking about it, not even awake. In year 15, the gap between you and the person who did not apply the 1% rule is no longer a gap. It is a chasm. And the chasm was built not by income, not by luck, not by a single dramatic financial decision, but by $30 per month, 15 minutes per week, and the refusal to stop compounding. Right now, somewhere in your city, two people are waking up to the same alarm. They earn nearly the same salary. They grew up in the same kind of neighborhood. They have the same number of hours in the day. The difference between them is not money. It is the 1% rule. And the only question that remains is which person you decide to be today.